I've played for about 45 minutes to an hour already. Let's dive right in. In this first hand, we're looking down at Ace King of Diamonds, premium hand, especially at a meetup game. So we make it $20 to go from, I believe, under the gun or the next spot over. We see 3 callers before we find ourselves a pretty favorable flop of Ace King 4 Rainbow. Checks over to me, can bet pretty small here in order to balance. Not necessarily that you need to balance in a live 2-5 game where you don't normally play. Bet's pretty small here because we can have some bluffs here and bet for cheap on a board that will give us a pretty big range advantage. I bet $25 and the player, I think on the button, makes the call before a player out of the blinds puts in a big raise. He raises it up to $125. I don't see any reason to go ahead and re-raise this flop. We want to keep him in there with worse hands such as Ace 4 or maybe even worse, Ace X. He will have some draws such as gut shots sometimes, but I'm just going to flat call. Board is relatively dry. The other player in position folds. So we go heads up to a turn card, which is a 6 of spades. A fantastic card because it shouldn't kill any action. The player in the blinds has somewhere around 400 or a little bit more in his stack. He thinks for a little while before he decides to jam all that money into the middle. We pretty much have a pretty straightforward, easy snap call here. He sounds a little concerned, and I just go ahead and show him the Ace King.
I'm all in. All of it. Oh. Oh, okay. I'm all in. Of course.
But that concern doesn't last for too long after he sees what we have and shows us the pocket 4s. So an absolute disaster of a flop. And we are not able to improve on the river.
How about that one?
Yep, you're in there.
Yeah, definitely. That one makes it?
Yep.
All right, I'm done.
So, very choppy, rough start to this meetup game. Basically a cooler, nothing is going to change that's going to allow us to get away from that hand. We always want to get the maximum in that situation, and we're just gonna have to ship him $700 or whatever it is. So stuck a bunch in the early going. Very shortly after that, this same player limps into the pot, which he has been doing with a lot of hands. I've seen him do this with 10-8 offsuit. So when we look down at Ace 4 offsuit in late position, I'm just gonna go ahead and isolate here. Even though my hand isn't going to play super fantastic post flop, still gonna get after a little bit and raise it up to $25. I think the big blind makes the call before the limper calls as well. Flop comes down all clubs, and we do have the ace of clubs in our hand. So we're gonna play this one to the end. We're gonna see this one to the end. The action checks over to me on the flop. I bet small here on a monotone board. I bet $25. Player out of the blinds folds, and the limper check raises to $75. Not too much choice here since we have the ace of clubs and facing, not facing, but we have a short stack because I did not reload after the previous hand. I go ahead and jam somewhere around 270 or 280, and my opponent snap calls. So we are looking for some improvement here with ace high at the moment. Even though my opponent initially announces queen high, turns out he has a queen high flush on the flop. Not to worry though, the turn comes a club. So he's immediately drawing dead. And we find some run good after that disastrous first hand.
Put that on the blog too, right?
Yeah, that'll be in there.
270.
So we chip up a little bit, still stuck though, considering, like I said, we only had somewhere around $280 in our stack, didn't reload, didn't have time to reload before immediately finding additional action. Stuck less though, only stuck $400 now at this point, so things are looking up after hand number 1 and number 2.